The Exili's nebula had been a mystery for centuries, a swirling expanse of dense cosmic clouds that no ship had ever fully penetrated. Its reputation alone kept explorers at bay. Every attempt to study it ended in disaster, and strange signals emanating from its heart only deepened the galaxy's fear. Then, one day, a new transmission arrived, an intricate, rhythmic pulse that suggested intelligence, yet carried a warning. Its essence was clear. A force within the nebula had the potential to annihilate entire star systems. At the Galactic Council, representatives from dozens of species debated the signal. Their voices were tense, quivering between caution and ambition. "The nebula is unstable," said the Alari delegate, her translucent form shimmering with anxiety. "Any mission is suicide. We cannot risk our fleets on a fool's errand." "Perhaps we should attempt remote observation," suggested the Vrithian ambassador, his armored body clicking with mechanical precision. "Send probes, analyze data, and leave the rest to luck." Even the Valdari, known for their technological prowess, shook their heads. "The risk is too high," they said. "We would lose lives, ships, entire sectors." The council chamber hummed with agreement. Fear was a language everyone understood. Then humans spoke. Commander Alara Kwon stood tall at the podium, her dark uniform simple yet commanding. Her presence was unmistakable, confident, calm, and utterly unflinching in the face of galactic dread. "We'll go," she said, voice steady. "We'll handle it." The room fell silent. Some delegates frowned, some laughed quietly, and others simply stared in disbelief. "Excuse me?" asked a Quarlian representative, his four eyes blinking in confusion. "You plan to what? Enter the nebula?" "Yes," Alara replied. "We don't know what's in there, but humans don't run from challenges. If you won't attempt it, we will." The murmurs escalated. Many species saw humans as reckless, unprepared for anything so dangerous. But there was something different in the way Alara spoke, not bravado, but a quiet certainty. It wasn't that humans didn't fear the nebula, they understood the danger but refused to be paralyzed by it. Behind the council chamber doors, human engineers and scientists began preparations. Starships were retrofitted with adaptive shielding, flexible navigation systems, and AI capable of rapid problem-solving. Drones were equipped for reconnaissance in conditions no other species dared face. The crew ran simulations, anticipating every conceivable hazard. Every failure was studied, every obstacle reframed as a challenge to overcome. Alara watched her team with quiet pride. Humans were resilient, she thought, because they didn't wait for perfect conditions. They acted, they adapted, and they believed in one another even when the universe seemed poised to strike them down. Outside the chamber, rumors of the humans' plan spread across the galaxy. Some species mocked them. Others, secretly impressed, wondered how a species so young, so small compared to the galactic powers, could display such resolve. "They'll fail," whispered the Vrithian ambassador. "But if they don't, perhaps there is something in them we've underestimated." As the human fleet prepared for departure, the nebula loomed in the distance like a shadow. Swirling clouds of blue and violet stretched across light years, punctuated by erratic flashes of energy. The warning signal pulsed again, almost as if acknowledging the arrival of a species willing to face the impossible. Alara gave her crew a final briefing. "We don't know what's waiting for us. It might be dangerous, it might be deadly, but we've trained, we've planned, and most importantly, we stick together. Remember this, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is acting even when fear is real." The engines roared. The small human fleet moved forward, cutting through the darkness with a resolve unmatched by any other species. For the first time, someone dared to say yes when every other species had turned away. Humanity's presence was small but undeniable, a flickering flame against the void of the unknown. And somewhere deep in the nebula, the first hints of awareness stirred. The anomaly, ancient, vast, and intelligent, sensed the approach of a species unafraid of the impossible. It had seen countless fleets retreat, countless civilizations abandon hope. But these humans were different. They were coming, and they would not turn back. The mission had begun, and humanity had already made its mark on the galaxy. The Exili's nebula stretched before the human fleet like a living, breathing entity. Waves of ionized gas twisted in impossible patterns, refracting starlight into colors that seemed almost conscious. Sensors flickered under the nebula's interference, and the crew felt the eerie pull of gravitational anomalies tugging at their ships. Other species had long called this place the graveyard of ambition, and yet here were humans, pressing forward with determination. Commander Alara Kwon stood on the bridge of the lead ship, Endurance, watching the swirling lights. "Keep the formation tight," she ordered. "Don't let the storms scatter us. Every ship counts." Lieutenant Amir Patel, her second in command, adjusted the navigation matrix. "The grav fields are fluctuating again," he said. "If we don't compensate, we could be pulled apart." "Then compensate," Alara replied, her voice calm but firm. "We adapt or we fail, choose adaptation." Unlike other species' fleets, which relied heavily on raw technology, humans were flexible. Every system could be modified on the fly. Shields could redirect energy, propulsion units could recalibrate instantly, and drones scouted ahead to gather real-time data. The fleet was smaller than many other species' squadrons, but it was agile, quick to react, and led by humans who thrived under pressure. A sudden shudder ran through the Endurance as a gravitational wave slammed the ship. Crew members braced themselves while the ship's systems automatically adjusted. "Stabilizers holding," reported the engineer. "Waves peak just past. Hull integrity 98%. Alara nodded. "Good, learn from it. Every wave teaches us something new." As the fleet advanced, strange phenomena became impossible to ignore. Luminous voids appeared within the nebula, twisting in ways that suggested intelligence. They pulsed rhythmically, almost as if observing the humans, reacting to their movements. "It's like the nebula itself is alive," whispered a young scientist, her eyes wide with awe. Amir frowned. "Alive or not, it's unpredictable. We'll need to be careful." But humans had a unique approach. Where other species would have avoided the anomalies, humans moved closer, sending drones into the voids. Some drones disappeared without a trace, but each loss yielded vital data. They mapped the currents, predicted fluctuations, and adjusted their paths accordingly. What would have been insurmountable obstacles for cautious species became challenges for humans to solve. Days passed, and the fleet encountered energy storms more intense than anything previously recorded. Lightning-like discharges ripped through the nebula, threatening to disable propulsion and fry electronics. The crew worked tirelessly, rerouting power, reinforcing shields, and improvising solutions. Every storm was an opportunity to test ingenuity, and the humans passed every test. During one particularly violent surge, the Endurance's AI, called Solis, identified a path through the storm that no human could have calculated manually. "Path viable," it announced. "Estimated survival probability, 73%. Alara's eyes met Amir's. 73%, she said with a hint of a smile. "I'll take those odds." The ship surged forward, cutting through the chaos with precision and teamwork. When they emerged on the other side, the fleet was battered but intact. Crew members exchanged relieved glances, a shared understanding forming among them. Survival depended on trust, creativity, and relentless effort. From the edge of the nebula, other species watched through long-range observation. Some whispered in disbelief. "How are they still alive?" asked a Valdari strategist. "Every fleet before them would have been shredded." The answer, quietly understood by humans themselves, was simple. They adapted. They didn't fear failure. They didn't turn away. And when faced with challenges, they learned faster, improvised better, and persevered longer than anyone else. As night cycles passed in the fleet's internal systems, Alara walked the corridors of the Endurance, stopping to speak with crew members. Engineers tinkered with drones, scientists analyzed new data streams, and pilots trained under simulated hazards. She spoke quietly, but her words carried weight. "Every problem we face is temporary. Every obstacle is solvable. Remember this, we are not here to survive by luck. We survive by thinking, by acting, and by refusing to give up." Somewhere deep in the nebula, the luminous voids shifted again. They pulsed faster now, as if acknowledging the humans' persistence. Unlike other species, humans did not retreat or freeze. They studied, adapted, and advanced. The nebula had met many explorers, but it had never faced humans like these. And in that moment, as the fleet pressed further into the swirling unknown, it became clear. Humanity did not simply enter the nebula. Humanity challenged it. The impossible was no longer a warning. For humans, it was the beginning. The human fleet pressed deeper into the heart of the Exiles Nebula, the swirling clouds of violet and blue thickening around them like an ocean of living light. Sensor readings were erratic, gravitational anomalies appeared without warning, and energy discharges flickered unpredictably across their paths. Every other species that had attempted this mission would have retreated long ago. For humans, it was only the beginning. A sudden warning blared through the Endurance's bridge. Gravitational vortex detected ahead, estimated radius 30 kilometers. The alert sent a ripple of tension through the crew. Ships tilted violently as the vortex's pull threatened to draw them in. "Brace for turbulence," Commander Alara Kwon barked, gripping the rail. "This is our first real test. Focus on your training. We adapt or we fail. There's no other option." Lieutenant Amir Patel's fingers flew over the controls. Hull stress increasing, shields at 60%. Standard navigation won't hold. "Then improvise," Alara replied. "Solis give me alternative pathways even if they're risky." The ship's AI hummed, processing trillions of variables in seconds. Suggested route calculated, energy redirection required, probability of success 60%. "Better than zero," Alara muttered, a determined smile flickering across her face. "Execute it." The crew worked in perfect synchrony. Engineers rerouted power from secondary systems to reinforce shields. Pilots adjusted vector thrusters in real time. Drones were deployed ahead, mapping micro-fluctuations in the vortex's energy. Each human on the bridge felt the weight of the challenge, yet none wavered. The vortex's pull intensified, threatening to split ships apart. The Endurance rocked violently as energy arcs lanced across the hull. Crew members held their stations, eyes focused and hearts steady. Every calculation, every adjustment was an act of survival. And then slowly, the fleet began to move through the vortex. It was not effortless. Sparks flew from systems and a few minor hull breaches were patched in real time. But the humans pressed on, adapting at every moment. Where other species would have faltered, they learned and adjusted instantly. The impossible began to bend around their ingenuity. Once the fleet cleared the vortex, a collective exhale swept through the crew. Systems were strained but functional. Damage was minimal, and yet even in relief there was no complacency. Alara's gaze swept the bridge. "Remember this feeling, the universe will test us again. Each challenge will be bigger, faster, more dangerous. But what we learned here, how to adapt, how to work as one, that will carry us through." As they regrouped, the scientists aboard Endurance analyzed data collected from the vortex. "The patterns, they're semi-intelligent," said Dr. Leela Chang, her voice tight with excitement. "The gravitational waves are not random. They react to our presence. It's almost as if the nebula itself is aware of us." Amir leaned over her console. "Aware or not, we just navigated its most dangerous trap. If intelligence exists here, it has just met humans who don't give up." The realization sent a ripple through the fleet. Every other species had abandoned the mission when faced with such anomalies. Humans, however, thrived in uncertainty. Their creativity, rapid problem-solving, and willingness to act under pressure were more than survival skills, they were strengths. By night cycles aboard the ships, crew members were exhausted but exhilarated. Engineers repaired minor damages, scientists studied data, and pilots recalibrated their instruments. Conversations buzzed with ideas, debates over strategy, and quiet moments of awe at the nebula's beauty. Alara walked among them, offering guidance, encouragement, and quiet pride. "This is only the first test," she reminded them. "But we passed because we didn't hesitate. Courage isn't waiting for perfect conditions, it's acting anyway." Far beyond the nebula's swirling clouds, other species monitored the humans' progress. Some watched in disbelief, whispering among themselves. "How are they still alive?" asked a Valdari envoy. "Every fleet before them would have been destroyed." The answer was simple yet profound. Humans did not rely solely on technology or caution. They relied on ingenuity, collaboration, and the determination to face the impossible head-on. Each crew member understood that success required trust, creativity, and a refusal to surrender. As the fleet moved forward, deeper into the mysterious nebula, the first true signs of its intelligence pulsed again, ribbons of energy twisting, as if observing the humans with interest. Unlike the fleets that had come before, humanity did not falter. They pressed onward, ready to turn the impossible into the achievable. The Exili's Nebula had thrown its first real challenge at humanity, and humanity had not just survived, it had conquered it. The deeper the human fleet moved into the Exili's Nebula, the more the anomalies seemed purposeful. Patterns in the glowing voids repeated with a rhythm that hinted at thought. Energy pulses carried strange harmonics, and the gravitational fields shifted in ways that suggested intelligence. The nebula was no longer a chaotic storm. It was alive, aware, and observing the intruders. Commander Alara Kwon stood on the bridge of the Endurance, eyes scanning the readouts. "It's testing us," she said quietly. "Whatever's inside this nebula, it knows we're here, and it wants to see what we'll do." Lieutenant Amir Patel frowned. "Testing us? It's a nebula, not a conscious being." Dr. Leela Chang shook her head. "Not everything we encounter needs a body to be intelligent. The patterns, the reactions, it adapts to our actions. It responds. That's intelligence, even if it's unlike anything we've seen." Alara nodded. "Then we respond back, carefully but deliberately, observe, learn, and interact." The first real communication came as a series of pulses across the fleet's comm systems. The signals weren't words, not in any human sense. They were sequences, vibrations, and shifts in frequency that resonated deep in the ship's systems. Solis, the fleet's AI, processed them instantly, translating the patterns into abstract suggestions. "It's presenting challenges," Solis reported. "Sequences appear to test decision-making, strategy, and resource allocation. Probability of failure increases with hesitation or error." Alara gestured to the bridge crew. "This isn't just navigation, it's negotiation. Approach every anomaly as a puzzle, not a threat. Engage with curiosity, not fear." The first test came quickly. One of the drones sent into a luminous void disappeared, replaced by a shifting energy pulse that warped sensors and disrupted propulsion. The anomaly created a labyrinth of energy corridors around the fleet, forcing ships into complex maneuvers. "Keep calm," Alara instructed. "Analyze, adapt, move forward." Crew members worked furiously, rerouting power, adjusting shields, and recalibrating sensors. Every move they made was observed and responded to by the nebula. It felt like playing chess with a player who could anticipate every human thought, but humans adapted faster than anyone expected. As the fleet advanced, another challenge emerged, moral in nature. The anomaly presented a situation where the fleet could escape danger only by sacrificing a single drone cluster. Standard AI logic suggested prioritizing survival and efficiency, but the humans debated. "Those drones are part of our team," argued Dr. Chang. "We can't treat them as expendable." "True," Alara said. "We'll find another way. Adaptation is the key. There is always an alternative if we think creatively enough." The humans worked together, combining AI predictions with human intuition. They manipulated energy flows, used gravitational currents, and coordinated ship movements to bypass the trap without sacrificing equipment. The anomaly pulsed in a new rhythm, almost approvingly. Amir shook his head in disbelief. "It's like it's learning from us as we learn from it." "That's exactly what's happening," Alara replied. "We're not just surviving, we're communicating, slowly, carefully, intelligently." For the first time, the crew began to feel something extraordinary, mutual understanding with a being utterly unlike themselves. The anomaly tested patience, morality, ingenuity, and empathy. Humans were uniquely suited for this, not because of superior technology, but because of their ability to improvise, collaborate, and consider consequences beyond immediate survival. Meanwhile, from distant observation points, other species watched in stunned silence. "They're interacting with it," whispered a Valdari ambassador. "Every fleet we sent before never made it this far. How are they succeeding?" The answer was simple. Humans did not react with fear. They did not freeze or retreat. They faced every challenge with adaptability, empathy, and courage, and in doing so they began to establish a connection with the nebula itself. As the day cycle ended aboard the Endurance, Alara stood before the observation window, looking into the swirling lights of the nebula. "It's learning about us, and we're learning about it," she said softly. "This is more than a mission, it's a conversation, and we're finally part of it." The anomaly pulsed brighter, a silent acknowledgement that it had noticed the humans in a way no other species had. For the first time, it had met creatures unafraid of its challenges, willing to engage with curiosity, intelligence, and moral reasoning. Humanity was proving that fear was no barrier when matched with courage, ingenuity, and cooperation. And deep in the heart of the nebula, the first spark of recognition ignited. Something ancient and vast had met something new and unstoppable. The voice in the void had found a worthy interlocutor. Humanity had not just entered the impossible, they had begun to understand it. The human fleet had become a small constellation of lights within the dense heart of the Exiles Nebula. The anomaly had shifted its tests from puzzles to unpredictability, altering gravitational fields and energy flows in ways that no simulation had prepared them for. Every ship strained against the nebula's invisible grip, every crew member acutely aware that one mistake could be fatal. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Endurance and its accompanying vessels. "Gravitational rift forming ahead, rapid expansion detected," shouted Lieutenant Amir Patel, gripping the control console as the ship shuddered violently. Ilara's voice cut through the chaos. "Brace yourselves, hold formation, stabilize shields and reroute all power to thrusters." But the rift was too sudden, too immense. The lead support ship, Resolute, was caught in the collapse. Hull breaches sparked along its side, energy shields faltering. Crew members worked frantically to stabilize the vessel, but it was clear the rift would consume it. "Commander," a young communications officer called, voice shaking. We can't save them. They're being pulled apart." Ilara's jaw tightened. "We won't abandon them. No one gets left behind." The humans acted instantly. The fleet repositioned, forming a protective perimeter around the failing ship. Drones were dispatched to reinforce the shields, and engineers worked tirelessly to anchor the Resolute to gravitational currents that could pull it out of the rift. Every second was critical. Every decision could mean life or death. Other species, monitoring remotely, shook their heads in disbelief. Where their fleets would have retreated at the first sign of danger, humans pressed forward. They risked everything, not for glory, not for recognition, but for one another. Inside the Endurance, Ilara and Amir coordinated with precision. "We can't let it be lost," she said. "If we pull together, we can salvage crew and data, everyone ready." The crew responded with determination. Engineers patched hull breaches, pilots threaded through energy currents, and scientists recalibrated drones in mid-flight. Slowly, inch by inch, the Resolute began to stabilize. Sparks flew from exposed circuits, and the ship groaned under the stress, but it did not break apart. Finally, the Resolute cleared the worst of the rift. Crew members, pale and exhausted, gave weak smiles. They had survived, but the cost was visible in the wear and tear on their ships, the trembling hands of young engineers, and the haunting awareness that one misstep could have ended it all. Ilara allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. "This is why we continue," she said quietly. "Not because the nebula is fair or kind, not because it rewards bravery, but because we refuse to leave anyone behind." From distant observation points, other species watched in silence. The Valdari strategist whispered, "They don't just face danger, they face it with loyalty and sacrifice. That's something we never considered." But the mission was far from over. The anomaly pulsed around them as if acknowledging the humans' resilience. The rift had been a test not just of skill, but of commitment and ethics. Humans had not taken the easiest path. They had taken the right one, demonstrating a quality that no other species had managed in this nebula: unwavering solidarity. As night cycles fell aboard the ships, the fleet repaired, resupplied, and shared stories of the ordeal. Pilots recounted near misses with gravitational spikes, engineers spoke of the thrill of solving problems in real time, and scientists marveled at the anomaly's responsiveness. Through it all, Ilara walked the corridors, offering encouragement and reflection. "Remember this moment," she told her crew. "The universe will test us again. It will throw challenges bigger, faster, more dangerous. But today we proved we are not defined by fear or risk alone. We are defined by how we face them, by how we protect each other, and by how we never give up." Deep within the nebula, the luminous voids pulsed in recognition. Something ancient and vast observed not just the humans' ingenuity, but their willingness to sacrifice, to adapt, and to value one another above survival. It was a lesson that no algorithm could teach, no technology could replicate. For the first time, the nebula seemed impressed. It had met a species that faced impossible odds not with retreat or calculation alone, but with courage, loyalty, and moral integrity. Humanity had survived a trial that would have shattered every other fleet, and in doing so, had taken the first real step toward earning the anomaly's recognition. Ilara returned to the bridge of the Endurance, gazing at the swirling lights ahead. "We're only getting started," she said softly. "Whatever lies ahead, we face it together, we adapt, we endure, and we never turn back." The nebula pulsed once more, a silent acknowledgement that it had noticed, and that it had begun to respect, the species that refused to abandon the impossible. Humanity had proven something fundamental. Survival alone was not enough. It was courage, resilience, and sacrifice that truly defined them. And somewhere deep in the swirling clouds, the first hints of a greater challenge began to stir. The human fleet hovered in the heart of the Exili's nebula, the swirling clouds of violet and silver stretching across light years like a living tapestry. After surviving the gravitational rift, the crew sensed that the anomaly's challenges were no longer tests. They were signals, invitations, and perhaps warnings. Somewhere deep within, a force unlike any they had ever encountered awaited them. Commander Alara Kwon stood on the Endurance's bridge, eyes scanning the latest readings. "The anomaly isn't just intelligent," she said, voice calm but firm. "It has purpose, and I think it's trying to tell us something." Dr. Leela Chang studied the data streams. "It's not random energy, the pulses, the currents, they're structured, almost like it's containing something dangerous." Amir Patel frowned. "Dangerous? You mean like a storm or a vortex?" "No," Leela replied, shaking her head. "Much worse. The nebula is a containment field. There's a rogue energy intelligence inside, a being of immense power that consumes everything it touches. That's why every other species failed or withdrew. They couldn't even comprehend what it was." Alara's jaw tightened. "Then it's up to us. If we leave, entire systems could be destroyed. We've survived everything this nebula has thrown at us. Now it's time to face what's inside." The plan came together in shifts, with every human contributing. Engineers modified energy emitters to manipulate harmonic fields. Scientists calculated gravitational counterflows to stabilize the anomaly's movement. Pilots practiced precision maneuvers that would guide ships around areas of extreme instability. And Solis, the fleet's AI, integrated human intuition with computational foresight, creating a system capable of near-instant adaptation. "This is risky," Amir said during a strategy meeting. "One miscalculation and the energy intelligence could break free." Alara met his gaze steadily. "We don't have a choice. We adapt, we improvise, and we act. That's what we've done from the start, and it's why we're still here." The fleet approached the center of the nebula, where a swirling vortex of raw energy pulsed with blinding intensity. It was massive, dwarfing every ship in the fleet, and yet it seemed aware. The anomaly responded to every movement, every adjustment. "Prepare the energy harmonics," Alara commanded. "We're not just observing, we're engaging. We contain or we die trying." For hours, the crew worked as one. Waves of gravitational currents were redirected, energy fields synchronized, and drones guided the manipulation of the anomaly's outer layers. Every human aboard contributed, improvising when calculations failed, adjusting when the nebula itself shifted unexpectedly. The mission was a dance, a coordination of intellect, courage, and intuition that no other species could replicate. As the first containment matrix formed around the rogue intelligence, the anomaly reacted violently. Energy arcs lashed out, pulling ships toward the center. Shields strained to their limits, hulls creaked under stress, and alarms blared across the fleet. Ilara's hands flew over the controls, her voice steady but commanding. "Hold the lattice, adjust harmonics, trust the plan." Crew members responded instinctively, moving as one organism rather than as separate individuals. Minor hull breaches were patched mid-flight, propulsion vectors recalibrated in real time, and Solis predicted fluctuations before they occurred. The impossible was happening before their eyes. Humans were containing a force that had destroyed entire fleets of other species with nothing but ingenuity, courage, and cooperation. Finally, the energy intelligence stabilized within the lattice. The nebula pulsed, almost as if sighing, and the swirling chaos began to settle. The rogue force was no longer a threat, it was contained. The human fleet had succeeded where all others had failed. Amir let out a long breath. "We did it, we actually did it." Alara's eyes scanned the common energy. "We didn't just survive," she said quietly. "We solved the impossible, that's what humanity does. We face the challenges others flee from and we find a way." From distant observation points, representatives of other species recorded the outcome in stunned silence. A Valdari diplomat whispered, "They didn't just confront it, they mastered it. How? How did they succeed where we all failed?" The answer was clear. Humans did not rely on perfect conditions or fearlessly follow protocols. They adapted, improvised, and trusted each other. They faced impossible odds with courage, creativity, and unwavering determination. As the fleet regrouped, Alara addressed her crew. "We've learned something important," she said. "No matter how impossible a task seems, no matter how overwhelming the odds, we have the power to meet it. Not because we're the strongest, but because we refuse to turn away." The nebula pulsed one final time, a silent acknowledgement that it had witnessed a species unlike any it had encountered before. Humanity had not only survived, they had unlocked the impossible. And far beyond the Exili's nebula, the galaxy began to take note. A new force had emerged. Humanity had proven that courage, ingenuity, and perseverance could achieve what no one else dared attempt. The heart of the Exili's nebula shimmered like a storm contained in a crystal. The rogue energy intelligence, vast and incomprehensible, pulsed within the containment lattice the human fleet had crafted. But it was far from passive. It lashed out with waves of energy, testing the boundaries of the lattice and the patience of the humans who dared to hold it. One misstep could shatter the containment and unleash devastation across nearby star systems. Commander Alara Kwon stood on the bridge of the Endurance, watching the displays with unwavering focus. "This is it," she said quietly. "Everything we've learned, every challenge we've faced, it all comes down to this moment. Stay sharp, trust each other, and remember what we're here for." Lieutenant Amir Patel nodded, tension evident in his posture. "The intelligence is testing the lattice. If it breaks through, we could lose half the fleet." Alara's gaze was steady. "Then we make sure it doesn't. We act together, we adapt, and we persevere. That's what humans do." The fleet moved as one coordinated organism. Drones darted through the lattice, constantly recalibrating energy flows. Engineers rerouted power to reinforce critical nodes, while scientists analyzed the intelligence's behavior, predicting patterns and anticipating strikes. Pilots maneuvered with precision, guiding ships to positions where gravitational currents could help stabilize the lattice. The anomaly pulsed violently, sending arcs of energy across the fleet. Alarms screamed, lights flickered, and the hum of the engines reached a deafening pitch. Crew members gritted their teeth, hands flying across consoles, minds synchronized in a singular purpose. "Shields holding at 92%, reported one engineer. "Lattice stable but fluctuating." Alara's eyes narrowed. "We anticipate the fluctuations, redirect harmonics to counteract, now." For minutes that felt like hours, humans battled the anomaly not with weapons, but with intellect, adaptability, and teamwork. Every adjustment was met with a counter-movement from the energy intelligence. Every prediction was tested in real time. And yet, unlike other species that would have frozen or retreated, humans did not falter. "Now synchronize all nodes," Alara commanded. "We lock it in." The fleet's AI, Solis, coordinated the effort flawlessly. Energy harmonics pulsed through the lattice, gravitational currents were precisely aligned, and drones stabilized the edges of the containment field. The rogue intelligence thrashed, pulses of raw power shaking ships and straining systems to their limits. Then slowly it began to settle. The energy arcs diminished, the lattice held firm, and the intelligence, vast, alien, incomprehensible, was contained. The nebula itself seemed to calm, the violent swirls of violet and blue softening into gentle luminescence. A cheer erupted across the human fleet. Crew members clapped each other on the shoulders, exchanged smiles, and allowed themselves a rare moment of relief. They had done the impossible. Amir exhaled heavily. "We actually did it. We contained it. We survived everything and actually succeeded." Alara's gaze swept the fleet. "We didn't just survive," she said. "We triumphed, not because we were stronger or faster or luckier. We succeeded because we adapted, we persevered, and we trusted each other. That's what makes humans humans." Far beyond the nebula, other species observed in stunned silence. For the first time, a fleet had confronted the Exili's nebula and emerged victorious. A Quarlian diplomat whispered, "They didn't just endure the impossible, they mastered it." But Alara understood something deeper. Humanity's victory was not only in containing the energy intelligence. It was in the courage to face the unknown, the ingenuity to find solutions where none seemed possible, and the resilience to keep going when everything seemed lost. That combination of traits was what distinguished them from every other species in the galaxy. As the fleet regrouped, Alara addressed the crew. "This is more than a mission," she said. "We've proven that when the universe presents the impossible, we don't run, we adapt, we learn, and we succeed. Today we've shown what humans are capable of." The nebula pulsed gently, as if acknowledging her words. Somewhere within the swirling clouds, the intelligence stirred, but now contained, no longer a threat. It had encountered a species unlike any other, resourceful, courageous, and unyielding. And as the human fleet began its return to open space, Stars once distant and unreachable seemed closer than ever. Humanity had faced the impossible, stood where others had turned away, and emerged victorious. Across the galaxy, whispers began. A new reputation was forming. Humans were not merely survivors or explorers, they were problem solvers, protectors, and pioneers. They were the species willing to say, "We'll handle it," when everyone else turned away. And for Commander Alara Kwon and her crew, that was only the beginning. The human fleet emerged from the Exili's nebula into the calm expanse of open space. Stars stretched across the void like scattered diamonds, and the silence of the galaxy felt profound after weeks within the pulsating chaos of the nebula. Every ship bore the marks of the mission, scuffed hulls, repaired systems, and exhausted crew. But every human aboard carried something even more enduring, a quiet pride in what they had accomplished. Commander Alara Kwon stood on the bridge of the Endurance, watching as the fleet aligned for return. The nebula's challenge had been contained. The rogue energy intelligence no longer threatened nearby systems. Humanity had succeeded where every other species had hesitated, faltered, or fled. Lieutenant Amir Patel broke the reflective silence. "I don't think anyone will believe how close some of those moments were. We survived things I didn't even think were possible." Alara nodded. "We survived because we didn't face them alone. Every success, every maneuver, every decision, it was shared. That's why humans endure where others retreat. We adapt, we trust each other, and we refuse to give up." News of the humans' triumph traveled faster than any ship could carry it. Across the galaxy, sensors, probes, and communication relays transmitted the story of a species that had faced the impossible and prevailed. For centuries, the Exili's nebula had been a symbol of fear and limitation. Now it had become a testament to human ingenuity and courage. At the Galactic Council, delegates gathered once more, this time to witness the aftermath. The Ilari ambassador, whose caution had once dominated the council chambers, spoke first. "I admit, I did not believe this species would succeed. I was wrong. Humanity has done what no other could." The Vrithian envoy added, his mechanical voice tinged with awe. "They faced the anomaly directly, adapted under pressure, and preserved lives while achieving the mission. This is remarkable, unprecedented." Even the Valdari, known for their strategic brilliance, acknowledged the humans' accomplishment. "They are not just brave," a senior Valdari commander said. "They are intelligent, creative, and unyielding. We have underestimated them for far too long." Alara, representing humanity, addressed the council. "We did not succeed because we are fearless. We succeeded because we act when others hesitate, because we trust each other, innovate constantly, and refuse to abandon those in need. That is what humanity offers the galaxy, not reckless courage, but calculated determination guided by compassion and ingenuity." The recognition was immediate. Other species, previously hesitant to share knowledge or form alliances with humans, now sought cooperation. Scientists proposed joint research on energy harmonics. Pilots requested human training programs for fleet coordination in unpredictable environments. Diplomats initiated dialogues to better understand human approaches to problem-solving and risk management. But the greatest impact was intangible. Across the galaxy, species began to reevaluate assumptions about humanity. They realized that humans were not the reckless upstarts they had assumed. They were resilient, adaptable, and willing to tackle challenges that others avoided. Humanity had become a symbol, a species that confronted the impossible, not with blind bravado, but with skill, unity, and determination. Back aboard the Endurance, Alara walked the corridors, greeting crew members who were still buzzing with excitement. Engineers shared stories of last-minute improvisations that saved ships. Scientists discussed anomalies they had mapped and learned from. Pilots laughed over near misses that had tested nerves and skills alike. Alara paused at the observation window, looking out at the stars. She thought of the Exili's nebula, the danger, the unknown, and the immense intelligence within. Humanity had entered that impossible place and emerged not just intact, but victorious. She realized that what set humans apart was not technology alone, nor courage alone, but the combination of adaptability, collaboration, and relentless perseverance. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, the rogue intelligence pulsed faintly within its containment, an enigmatic acknowledgement that it had encountered something extraordinary. It had met a species unafraid of the impossible, capable of learning, improvising, and persisting in the face of overwhelming odds. Humanity had proven itself not merely as survivors, but as pioneers. As the fleet charted its course home, Elara addressed the crew one last time. Today, we've shown the galaxy who we are, but this is only the beginning. Wherever there are challenges that others abandon, humanity will be there. We will adapt, we will endure, and we will succeed, always. The stars streaked past the fleet as it left the nebula behind, and a new chapter began, for humanity, for the galaxy, and for every species that would come to recognize the strength of a people who refused to turn away. Humanity had faced the impossible, and humanity had won.